Hi, I'm Nikki, the Obsessive Bookseller. Welcome to my channel, and welcome to the Genre Deep Dive Challenge. I'm running quarterly challenges with my patrons over on Patreon. They voted, and this is the topic that won, and I am so excited for it. The idea is to pick a genre that you'd like to read more from and make a concerted effort over the next few months to pick more titles from that genre. I have chosen to focus on science fiction. I have been reading a lot of science fiction over the last few years, but there's just so many series that I'd like to start or get back to, and so this is the perfect opportunity for me. I love these quarterly challenges. From a creator standpoint, this is a passion project for me. I love creating the thumbnails, I love producing them, I love planning out the reads, I love creating the little tags to draw from. I am having so much fun with this, and I'm hoping to keep it around for a while, so stay tuned! But rather than holding all the books that I'd like to consider for the challenge, I'm just going to take you around my library and show you everything that I'm looking at. I've got about 15 different series that I'm picking from. In past challenges, I've included absolutely everything that I could possibly think of to draw from. This time around, I'm taking it a bit easy on myself. These are just the very high priority science fiction books that I want to read. And it's kind of cheating a little bit because my random draw, I'm always going to pick something good, but after some of the doozies I had last time, I'm ready for an easy quarter. Okay, let me show you what I'm hoping to pick from. So starting at the very top, I've got the Sector General Omnibus by James White, Alien Emergencies. This is books 4 through 6. I read 1 through 3 in another challenge that I'm doing, and absolutely love them. It's medical sci-fi. So this guy's a doctor to aliens on a space station, and it's kind of short story format, but every story kind of piggybacks off the other one. So I'm really enjoying those, hoping to pick one of those. And then Final Architecture, these beautiful hardcovers I got for Christmas that I can't wait to dive into, especially since I'm now up to date with Children of Time. This would be a really good time to start this next trilogy. Love it. And actually, I say trilogy, but I don't really know how many are planned in the series. And then this does not look like a sci-fi book to me. It also doesn't look very gritty, but apparently it is. So this is also included on the list of possibilities. We've got Fractal Noise by Christopher Paolini. This is kind of a shorter book. I thought it was a continuation to Sleep in a Sea of Stars, but it's actually a companion novel. And I would like to read it in the event that there's another book in the series out. I can't imagine there not being, but he's probably taken a break to work on the Murtagh stuff. But that's on the list. This one's probably the lowest priority of everything I have, but it's short, so I figured I'd include it. The Web Shifters Library series by Julie Ternita. This is like a top tier author for me. I absolutely love her creature creation, the Blue Blob. And this is a continuation to her Web Shifters trilogy, starting with Beholder's Eye. And I've read exactly half of this. I finished this book and then read half of this one, but then stalled too long. So now I want to start over, read this book, and continue everything. So if it gets chosen, we're going to reread this. And I don't hate it. Down here in the corner, I have the Foreigner series by C.J. Cherryh. The first 3 books, and I've been slowly collecting these in hardcover. And I've actually read this first book already and stopped reading with like 50 pages to go because I was so fed up. But I'm going to give it another shot. I've been reading a lot of science fiction in the same vein with the same feel and have been really enjoying it lately. And I want to at least make it to the second book to see if it improves. Because these promise like creature creation, awesome world building, excellent politics. I mean, every single book that you get has some sort of political intrigue promise on the cover, and there's like 30 of them. So I would really like to like this series, but I need to get going on them. And then if I don't like them, then I have a bunch that I can unhaul. And then back here hiding in the corner, we've got the Ender's Universe, and I'm on Shadow Puppets. I'm doing the chronological order, I think. So I'm hoping. I was really enjoying my experience with the Shadow series, and this is probably top priority, so if it doesn't get chosen for the challenge, I'll probably be picking it up eventually this year anyway. Also, one of my favorite sci-fi authors, Michael Mamet, with Generation Ship. I believe this is a standalone, but don't quote me on that. And yeah, it's the only work of his that I haven't read yet, and I've kind of found myself saving it for a rainy day. So I'm really hoping that one gets picked. It almost won for Patreon Book Club. And then the broken binding edition of China Melville's Perdido Street Station. It's like signed, gorgeous sprayed edges. And you're gonna laugh at me, but Perdido Street Station I thought was not sci-fi, but a mystery novel involving a train station. And then when this edition came out, I'm like, oh, they're talking about a space station. No wonder it pops up on sci-fi lists. Yeah, I feel dumb. But in my defense, the name sounds a lot like a lot of those classic mystery books that I sold for years. And the cover of the paperback version did nothing to dissuade me from that opinion. This would be probably my only venture into heavier sci-fi in this project, and I'm looking forward to it. I have the Sun Eater series over here. It's kind of mixed in because I'm trying to organize my reading so everything's in here by a weird priority. But yes, I'm already planning on reading this one this next month. So if this series comes up and gets chosen for the project, I don't know if that'll mean that I only read the one book I was already planning on reading, or if it means I have to add in another one. I'll have to decide. It'll largely depend on if I feel burnt out at that point. And then Scalzi Head On. Again, one I'm also planning on reading if it doesn't get chosen, but if it gets chosen, it'd be nice to kill two birds with one stone. And then down here I have books 2 and 3 in the Star Wars Thrawn trilogy. Read the first one a couple of months ago with my husband and absolutely loved it. So I'm hoping to read more Star Wars. This challenge would be perfect for more of that. And I think that's everything that I own physically. Okay, and here are some of the titles I don't actually own. So The Commonwealth, Pandora's Star by Peter Hamilton. Actually, Misspent Youth is kind of like a novella that came before the first book that I have an access to audiobook for. Very excited about reading that one. I hear if you like The Expanse, you'll also like this. It's like quintessential space opera. Red Shirts by John Scalzi. I think this is the only book other than his newest one that I haven't read from him. That would be a fun option. I'm not much of a Trek fan. I'm more of a Star Wars fan, but, you know, Star Trek's okay. The Seven Sons by Kevin J. Anderson. I read the first book, and now I'm on Forest of Stars, and actually there is also a short story for this one that I would like to go back and read. So if that one gets picked, I'll probably do maybe both the short story and the novel. The Adrenaline War, Behind the Throne, something like that. I don't own a copy of this, but I have heard really good things about it, particularly from people in Fantasy Buddy Reads. It's a group on Goodreads. People who I trust their opinions really enjoyed this series, and so it's just one of those I've had in the back of my head, like, hey, if you have a spare moment, perhaps give this one a try, so I'd like to do that one. The Valor series by Tanya Huff. Not only do they have Luis Royo covers, but it promises the same type of, like, Sarantha Jax, Rachel Bach, Julie Chernita, space opera-y, creature creation, cool world building type of sci-fi that just fuels my soul. I'm looking forward to that. The Bobverse, We Are Legion, We Are Bob by Taylor. I have had copies of these on audio for ages because it sounds like something I would like to read. Books that I think would be really funny. I imagine if I like Scalzi, I'll also like these because they're kind of cheeky. But yeah, looking forward to hopefully reading one of those. And last, but definitely not least, Mercy of the Gods by James S.A. Corey. Literally like 12 hours before filming this video, I got access to an e-arc of this. It doesn't even come out until like September. I don't even know. But I made a deal with myself that if this became available, I would drop everything to read it. So I'm going to drop everything to read this one first. It's perfect for my challenge, and look at me, I figured out a way to sneak it into my already planned reading. Normally, I would be picking random draw, so I've got all the series in here, and that's how we'll choose our titles going forward. But for this particular first upcoming installment, you will see my thoughts on Mercy of the Gods, and then I will pick a random draw from there to select from everything else in my collection. I mean, can you blame me? Nobody does it better than James S.A. Corey, and I absolutely love Daniel Abraham's writing. Is one of my all-time favorite fantasy writers, and his sci-fi stuff, some of the most memorable characters I've ever come across. The show was pretty good too, but I mean the books, man, the books. So some of my patrons are involved in this challenge, and I'm really excited to show you some of the categories they have picked to focus on for this quarter. My patron Dave, who by the way let his cat pick the category for him, which I think is the coolest thing. So Dave and his cat Alina have chosen Nebula Award winners as his focus for this quarter. And he's got a whole list of winners every single year, and he's read quite a few of them actually. So it'll be interesting to see some of the ones that are left over, what he thinks of those. I'm kind of letting him vet all of those before I pick them up. Sonia's focus is books originally written in German, because she watches a lot of BookTube, and almost all of the recommendations on here are books written in English, and so she doesn't get around to the books written in German. And it's not necessarily of any particular genre, but just that type of book that has been getting neglected is going to get some attention. And I love that interpretation of the challenge rules, because it's within the spirit of focusing more on the things that you've been wanting to focus on but haven't made time for. Katie is choosing to focus on vampire books. I could quite easily do an entire quarter on vampire books. Probably not the same type of vampire books that she would read. I'm pretty sure she would lean more towards the horror stuff, whereas I'm over here in like the urban fantasy, bubblegum type of vampire stuff. So looking forward to hearing her thoughts on those. And then Alyssa has chosen high fantasy and has some screamin' titles on there that I can't wait for her to read, like Will of the Many, Stormlight Archive. Come on. It'll be really fun to watch their progress through it. So if you're planning on reading with us, let me know what genre you have chosen and what are some of the top priority titles from that category that you're hoping to pick. And by the way, the random draw thing is just something I'm doing because it makes it more interesting. You don't have to do random draw if you join the challenge. My patrons are getting access to this series a full quarter ahead of time on Patreon, and then it will run live on the main channel once we've moved on to the next challenge. I'm really excited to run this challenge. Other than the first title, which I know for sure is going to be Mercy of the Gods, like, the anticipation kills me on having to wait until I'm done with one book before I draw another one, but that's half the fun. Like, live a little. I have such a structured, planned out existence that doing something completely random like this is probably good for my mental health. Anyway, thank you so much for joining. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye.